my, you look worse for wears, adventurer. Tough journey, perhaps a bandit or a monster unlike you've ever encountered before. Your accent and attire are slightly foreign. Where are you from? An exotic plane of existence, or perhaps a mysterious land uncharted? Please, do share. Have a drink on me. I will certainly give you a tale in exchange. Sit down. Let me gaze into your bruised eyes with wonder as I tell you a tale of cultures, war, and intrigue. Welcome to Tales from the Realm. For on what remains of this beautiful, colorful land, scarred by the wars of the Colossus, rests the realms of Anderall, divided between the thrones that claim its borders. I realize that you're new here, so I shall start small with the kingdom of Velen. Velen, a dominion separated from the rest of Anderall by the illustrious Meridian Valleys, humble and peaceful, often overlooked as only a microstate, yet its resources and hard-working people have a strong sense of community. Its ruler, if you could call him that, Lord Marshal of the realm Anderall, commands the land from within the dauntless city of Pashveelanor. A man from a long lineage of heroes brought in to guide the people through the blood and arcana wars. I won't trouble you with the details of said war for now, dear listener, but perhaps another time. Those who live in this land soon learn the laws of its stratocracy, for insubordination is quashed, guards are trained professionally, and it has managed to maintain its borders against stronger realms that would wish to claim it. To tell of how Velen government came to be, I would have to explain why the Velenites are not a soft bunch, always ready to throw hands if the situation arises. It has been the case with several events that have turned the land on its head that the people take up arms. To start, I will take you to the first Velen Civil War. Certainly the first step in this social hardening. The Queen, Cheshire, and her loyalists warred against the people she had oppressed, failing to realize their ruthlessness and fell to their barbarism. Soon the peasantry formed their own governing power, led by a promising leader, Graham of Shortpass. Over time, however, the people he led realized that his promises were undermined by his hunger for power, his greed, and his dictating nature. And as such began the Second Velen Civil War, the Estrudum court joining this revolution, providing the rebels with arms and training enough to overthrow Graham and his followers. The war ended only 2 months later in the bloodiest battle the land has seen, the Siege of Redborough. Redborough was once a fortified village, but now was razed to the ground as Graham of Shortpass's head was subsequently removed from his shoulders and placed on a pike and marched from the south to the north of the realm. And soon the Estrudum court founded its stratocracy in the small city of Pashveelanor as it was, and now the rest is history. But what of Velen's neighbor, Lucidia? A land dominated by the two houses of Cladash. Let's just say that those houses have been in some major conflict which never seems to end. Backstabbing, espionage, murder. Oh, it's a delicious scandal. The houses of Ulin and, of course, Vendal have been around for some time, the House of Ulin rising to power from their mercantile endeavors, fueled by the Blood and Arcana Wars and later the Spice Wars, whereas the House of Vendel came from peasant roots, rising into the upper classes due to their abilities in expanding their workforces and land, albeit their workforces were not exactly voluntary. Let me just say that they two families just made for each other. Definitely an acquired taste by the most vile of individuals. The lands themselves have a dark history, such as the Mesmer Vein, Basel Tor, and the shattered coast of Kalor. Strange places wrought with magical damage that have altered the landscapes to unnatural degrees, ripe for exploration and adventures. The port towns are certainly the hub of Lucidia, Port Johax and Port Shale, both exuding a refined reputation. The dark alleys of these places definitely are the zing, the spice, the tang that makes these places that much more interesting. I can say that Johax has had its fair share of crime, untamed by its guards. Yet its neighbours in Port Shale enjoy a nice quiet existence with a well-commanded barrack. They are not free of crime. Despite this, many slaves, contraband goods, and hitmen appear in its undermarkets. These markets are almost impossible to find and crop up as fast as they are destroyed. But the food in these black markets is pretty lavish. Contraband ingredients are for certain a delicacy worth a few days behind bars. But I will take your attention away from this saddening place to Lucidia's northern neighbor, Isoon. A land swept with beauty and fleeting mountains, the realm ruled by the House of Godrim, a peaceful bunch dedicated to the arts, both creative and arcane. For long they have seen to the people, from the fortress city of Ebonmount and to the farthest reaches of the wheat fields of Melior. Yet at its furthest corner lies a mountain range pale as chalk, the alabaster gorge of Udexal, a place shrouded in legend. Some say that within its rocky exterior lies a forge fit for the gods, a place known as Greyforge. Those who have seemingly found its entrance have never been able to see beyond, creating fanciful tales of its interior. The race was on to find the people who could crack its impenetrable doors, sealed with a magic unlike anything mortal beings could muster, and it appears to need 2 large keys. Dwarves, gnomes, elves, halflings, humans, and all sorts have tried their hand, plied their trades, yet to no avail. But the legends do tell of a map that will lead to its core, from the entrance to the forge below. But in the millennia that has expired, have turned up naught. The land remains still, at peace with itself, where no wars have been waged in some time. Those who ventured into this land in search of gold and respite from their own torment have unraveled, like a cat pawing at a ball of yarn. I can only imagine what monsters would call this place corrupt, or would set its eyes on the capital, for the people have no quarrel. But when the time comes, the House of Goldrim will give no quarter, and there will be blood. From peace to prejudice, the Perigian Dominion lies north of the Isoon border, a land of wealth and corruption. Once the heart of arcane advancement, now acts as a vile prison for the Magi that once called it their home. The city of Arnskrun, bursting at its seams with potential, trades, arts, and luscious babes. Queen Agrabor, the daughter to the once Queen Rinach, has brought unruly change to the land. The arcane inclined that once served the throne now rot in cells for their apparent perversion of nature. But one remains under the watchful eye, untouched, the mercurial mind Fianzor. His works unrivaled into tapping through the threads of magic. The research he has conducted alone has saved countless of lives, no more so than the plague of 1653. Besides the exception to the rule and the endless injustices against the Magi of Perigian, the sprawling vineyards soften the eyes. But some say that the wine that fills the bottles throughout the land are tainted with the blood of thousands. During the Upcane uprising, there was brought forth by the cruelty of the queen, saw fields of grapes, wheat, rye, and even wineries themselves burned to a crisp. Brought mob justice to themselves, however. Many of those accused, be they innocent or guilty, found themselves at the end of a rope. a road through the fields decorated with the bodies of the denounced, now seen as only Hangman's Pass. Those who travel the pass at night sometimes hear the harrowing cries of the accused and the rallied roars of the vigilantes that brought the poor souls into the well beyond. Now, I'm sure you've had enough distasteful stories from the places I've told you of, so allow me to take you over to Kerwin. Oh, what a wonderful place. Rocky shores, emerald waters, and people so content with simplicity. You won't find anything incredible in Kerwin, that is for certain. That is the beauty of it. Protected by a council of village aldermen, the Kerwin chapter, the people, they collaborate, delegate, combine their forces in times of crisis and then rejoice. That is not to say that it has not had its fair share of tragedy. The Blood Arcana Wars certainly made sure of that, but I will look past that darker chapter in favor of the glory days. Now, the Kerwin capital, Vandalgrim, is a busy place, built on dwarven pride and ingenuity. The mines that dance beneath its foundations bore deep into veins of gold, platinum, and gemstones, but have dug deeper than what they should have. What lies beneath Vandalgrim sits a cavernous hole, home to a temple seemingly untouched since the dawn of time. What was it built for? Who did it worship? That even I do not know. But echoes of a harmonious song call through the organ pipes that the mines have made, pouring from the temple like the calls of a thunderous angel. The singing mines draw the dwellers of the city to the fountains above ground, pipes that ring and bellow like the horns of the gods. The chapter has sanctified the temple below, protected it from potential raiders, and sought only to study it. For each piece of writing they uncover, mysterious towers appear on the shoreline, accompanied by unending aberrant weather, rain, storms, and even snowfall. Now, one of these towers has appeared in the center of Vandalgrim and brought snowfall to the region across all seasons. Perhaps what lies within the temple should remain untouched, left forgotten, but I know that one day some poor soul will uncover what has been sealed away for millennia, and we will find out why it was locked away for eternity. To the west of this beautiful land lies a strange ravine, filled with the waters of the Mesmer Sea, the World Scar. Now, there is much speculation about its origins, but from what is known by those who have studied it for most of their lives, have told of its endless history. What lies beneath the enchanting waters are cities and monuments that once stood proud as any other realm would, yet we do not know of how it came to be flooded. The mystery deepened as scholars and archaeologists uncovered remains of a great wall, carved with legendary depictions of heroic battles and sorcery. But who were the heroes in these carvings? What were the monsters? Why did this civilization fall? One day we will know the truth. But until then, the World Scar remains buried beneath the enchanting waters of the Mesmer Sea. What is not a mystery are the tribal lands of Shader, a sprawling forest scape littered with clans that have long outlived our meager societies. Of course, this comes with some problems. They bite at each other's throats every chance they get. Failed hunts, blame it on the rival clan. Murder, blame it on them, not us. You know, the usual babble that happens in some uncivilized people. Now, don't get me wrong, the Shader clans are some of the most welcoming among us, often happy to see outsiders to hear tales of our own exploits. Of course, you might have to make it almost obscenely fanciful to get uproarious cheers, but of course that's the spirit of it, and by the gods above, that is what makes them such enjoyable company. Now, when you wander the forests, delve past the plants that wish to eat you and the spirits that wish to possess you, you will stumble across a good few villages. Bear in mind, Shader has no capital, for each clan has one of their own. The place is split between the 9 clans: Torioch, Gallister, MacDade, Troin, Fara, Leondir, Egnach, Eolair, and the Solfain. all of them proud warriors, chroniclers of their faiths, and above all else, close families. Now, I won't deny that they have had their fair share of bloodshed. The countless feuds they have had wiped out the other 6 clans that once stood proud amongst them. They would tell you that it's all survival, the besting of the weaker tribe, but I would personally say it is genocide. They've remained at peace for a decade, but it is only time before they hack and slash at flesh once again. Perhaps it is for the better that we don't get involved. Time will tell, and whoever rises the victor could bring immense change, but that remains to be seen. But civilization returns to my favorite place, Ildain. Ah, the hot springs, the trade, the adventures. City of Whispers. Kester, a diamond amongst the rough, the city of opportunity. People think that House of Bathar holds true power over the goings-on, but an organization known as the Silk Song pulls the strings, puppeting the progress of every single motion passed, every meeting, every arrest. Perhaps it is almost autocratic, but alas, the faces behind the silken curtain maintain the peace, not moving themselves up in the world, but using their power to bring prosperity to Kester and Ildain itself. Rumors have emerged that would suggest that the shady organization resides somewhere in Castle Dram, but who would be so bold as to have their secret business hidden in plain sight? I for certain would never think to do such a thing, but who knows? On top of the rumors, people have become more advantageous of the guild's power play, managing to grow and expand their often overlooked businesses, and as such have made a name for themselves. I won't deny that seeing people prosper due to some underhanded tactics isn't intriguing, but I'm going to be more concerned about what they did to get to this level. I shan't bother you with the nitty-gritty about the whole conspiracy, and we'll give you a nice tour of Loch Muin, the lake at the heart. This beautiful feat of nature brings much-needed water to the city along several aqueducts and passageways that the people sail along, yet, much like any city, pipelines and vital infrastructure are often the target of the underbelly of the worst that society has to offer. Let's move on to a little tale. It's pretty short, but I have a little insight into the destruction that came of the Hunter's Star Aqueduct. Now, I can't say for certain, but I know that the Silk Song had a little nose in that pie. But don't take me at my word. If I told you the whole truth, I'd have to kill you, and someone would have to kill me. A rather messy affair that I'd rather avoid. Albeit, I am very good at messy affairs. If you ever find yourself within Kester, look to the small stone manor off of Emerald Lane. Very striking. In there you'll find the Hall of Heroes. The history of glory, adventure, and sacrifice that the city has been through. I'd highly recommend it. Sometimes, if I'm feeling a little naughty, I'll leave a bottle of Vitoli at the feet of the statue of Nocturne, a legendary samurai that defended Kester against a horror that emerged from the canals, the Vesarak. Foul beast, like a dinosaur made with an aboleth. Absolutely terrifying. I kid you not. Tentacles with razor-sharp teeth and 40 eyes, howling and screeching like a wraith. But I digress. Like I was saying, leave a bottle of Vitoli wine at the statue's feet. You won't be disappointed. Moving on. Realmsbridge. An odd place, if I'm brutally honest. It is literally just a giant system of locks to pull ships and all sorts above the damnable walls. Bunch of money-grabbing swindlers, all of them. Maybe faster just to go through and see the sights of the shanty towns, but save yourself the money, my friend. Just go the long way around. If you really want to venture through, might I suggest Woodlock? It's an alright place with an alright people. Don't expect too much. It's literally a hotel, saloon, and a general store, but for your own sake, it is the best out of all of them. The villages rise and fall like a game of unending dominoes, so be on your toes. Just below lies Anderall, definitely the prettier cousin of Realmsbridge. Sweeping coastlines, culturally rich, and the landscape is just to die for. Legends have it that the place was home to giants when they first started to wander the world, carving the land into their liking, and that's what gives it its gritty, rocky, and heather-covered horizons. The capital is gorgeous, a structure that stands tall after centuries of weathering, Bregor. A tiered city with large stone walls and a populace to boot. You'll find it is the melting pot of hearty artisans and innovators, a good chunk of scholars, architects, and in my time, in a little sabbatical I had once in a blue moon, I heard of the Grey Hands, daring band of adventurers, a guild so almighty that people bowed in their presence. But from what I have heard, they've begun to vanish off the face of Urathan. By the gods above, I was enamored with the tale, the story, and the one telling it. The mystery behind it all. No traces have ever been found of them, but the townsfolk have been erecting monuments of their missing heroes, almost as beacons of respect. One thing that tipped me to the potential cause was the Torm chapter. A bunch of fanatical clerics that were quite meat-headed and wanted glory so bad they inadvertently made themselves disgraced. Ironic, isn't it? They had it out for the Grey Hands and their glorious ventures, wealth and love from the people, but once the Grey Hands started disappearing, they were having portraits made of the missing heroes. Suspicious much, my friend? Especially when you hear the tales of Yogan the Painter, strange one that lives out in Fingal's cave, outside of the village of the same name. Bar the cave part, of course. Apparently, it can paint with glorious precision, and even enchant the media with ancient magics. I don't trust it one bit, but again, it is none of my business. Who knows? You might be the one to uncover the truth. Do you think there could be more to this whole debacle than meets the eye? I could just be one paranoid bugger, but who knows? Orthanum, the rolling hills, the mountainous valley. Oh, the gods knew what they were molding when they made this lovely nugget of land. Some say that the high population of the shorter folk there is due to the gods wishing them to perceive the place as grand as it was intended, and to never look down upon it. In amongst the valleys and fields you'll find vineyards, wheat fields, flowers, and gorgeous orchards blanketing across the place. If you really want to see a natural and somewhat arcane beauty, go to Silver Orchard. The place is brimming with flavorful ciders, food, and people who know how to party. If that isn't your tastes, if you'd rather go dungeon delving for treasures, there are plenty of ancient ruins that have been uncovered by simple farming. Caerdin was uncovered by a simple shepherd. Would you believe that? A place from fairy tales found by a peasant? Well, they're not a peasant anymore. They got filthy rich from the treasures inside and got some nasty wounds from the monsters within, but they still float around in their own town called Heverton. Not your average Orthanian town, I'll give you that. More like a miniature city, bustling with treasure hunters, adventures, glorious babes. Who would have thought that some pox-riddled shepherd could bring such intrigue to a self-founded settlement? Not me, that is for certain. Now, not to say that there is no competition for finding the last buried treasure trove in Orthanum, but if you are to do it, I'd recommend having a few watchful eyes. These people will stab you in the back if it meant they got all the glory and the wealth. Greed, the thought of it. Pah! Spit on their boots. Never mind. I'm sure you'll be fine, truly. You look like someone who can handle themselves in a dangerous situation. With a little more training, you could be as fearsome as the Estrudum court themselves. Now, I've waffled on for a while, and I promise that we are coming close to the end. Now, to Zarendale, the land of the feared Crimson Court. Who are these scary fiends, I hear you ask? An elite band of royal guards, almost untouchable in combat, serving under King Drogar the Blind. Lovely fellow, if you get past the dangerously sharp weapons in your face the whole time. Perhaps that is probably because I accidentally wooed his daughter. But, okay, both of his daughters. Okay. Both of his daughters and his son, but don't you dare judge me. Anyhow, rumors in the court, or tales I should say, that the Drogar lost his sight as a boy when a hag from the Kraken forests cursed him for hunting on her grounds. Now, what I know of hags, they would have eaten the boy, but nonetheless, 'tis a good story. You hear all sorts in the capital, Uldurin. Assassinations, both character and literal, affairs, scandal, the odd kidnapping of noble children, the usual, you know. The Crimson Guard are off on top of that, though, delivering swift justice then and there. No joy in the spectacle of it all, just a clean sweep of the halberd and swoosh, criminal gone. Those bunch still scare me. Saw a pickpocket get stopped by them, searched, contraband found, and then bang, no fingers. I thought if I played the wrong string or performed the wrong play that they'd flame me toes first. Don't be fearful, though. I was young and foolish when I thought that. They are just the most brutally effective guards I've ever seen. But if Uldurin isn't your cup of mead, head to the coast, to Brokenhorn. A little more lawless, definitely the untamed west of Anderall, if you were to summarize it in full of stories and characters and the potential for dangerous deeds to be carried out to endless, my friend. Bounty hunters, monster hunts, and all sorts. If you do go there, though, do bring a heft of coin. It is quite a pricey place. Definitely becoming more lawful since the overseers came to town. They're another tale for another time, though. But let's move on to a little bit of a scarier place, shall we? Corvair, the land of the deep roads. Dangerous pockets of the Shadowfell that bleed into our world, bringing all sorts of deadly abominations, aberrations, and eldritch horrors to the doorsteps of those unsuspecting. The capital of Rhaegar sent out hundreds of adventurers, almost 1,000 years ago, to try and map and seal off these breaches, but not many came back. So instead, people hired hunters to defend their villages. Probably the most prolific is Crin Malver, the Beast of Andalfjord, a hunter with hundreds of deep road kills under her belt. Rumors had it that she killed a Deathwalker, which, from what I recall, is almost impossible. Who am I to judge a good little saucy rumor? But if you're ever in the need to spice up your adventure, take a dip into the deep roads. You'll definitely find something there, but be warned, it could be the last place you ever visit. Alas, dear friend, if that isn't what you're after, head to Rhaegar, pretty comfortable dwarven and gnomish settlement, where inventions and meat flow like a strong tide. You could lose a few months there just as easily as basking in the activities of dancing, drinking, smoking, gambling, perusing storefronts, and dazzling the lovelies. But there is a gang that rules the eastern ward though, the Bludgeons. A right rowdy bunch, but we'll definitely make sure you're taken good care of. You make a good impression. There seems to be no end of dangers in Corvair, but not the same can be said for the next place we're heading to. Shein Tair, the southern tribes, ancient elves said to be the first to walk this world. Technologically savvy, culturally rich, and hardy as tack, and they have mastered the secret to long life by integrating ancient and magical crystals into their bodies to increase their lifespan, perhaps tenfold, 20, 30-fold. I kid you not, adventurer. Deep in the forest hide their societies, the epic stonework just begging to be seen by outsider eyes. The tribal capital of Kelvinora, or Dawn of the Setting Sun. Confusing name, I know, but it's apparently what it means in our common tongue. Luckily, if you get anywhere near there, let alone a village or town, they're so defensive that they will knock you unconscious and dump you on your arse outside the borders before you wake. I've managed to get a sneak peek, however, and they speak in ancient tongues, practice ancient fey rituals, and integrate those odd minerals into their flesh from birth. I could not make this stuff up if I found a time, friend. There are those out there, though, that would seek to steal this Shein Tai's technology for themselves, raid their homes, unearth their treasures for their own sick gains. Knowing us, we've already tried. The many cultures we have quashed in our expansion to the edges of Anderall, it almost sends me to the grave, the pain I feel for these intelligent tribespeople. They are not all smart and composed, however. The bitter feud between the Fiantai to the north has more than once been documented with thick bloodshed, none more so than the Battle of Cinderas, hundreds slaughtered with brutality within moments. Their truce has only held since then, and now some forces seek to break it, and attempts to restore a new one has yet to occur. The future may hold the final hours of the Shaentai or the Fiantai, so let me tell you of the winterous lands that the Shaentai war against. Fiantai, the northern tribes, settled amidst cold tundra and thick mountainous peaks. The city of Alashar, a glass city, has stood tall for almost as long as civilization has been around in Anderall. Home to master, artisans, scholars, tribesmen, the people are democratic but barbaric in their traditions. They are, in their own eyes, true Fae, never changing from what they once were when their ancestors came all those aeons ago. Though their mastery of the Fae mystic arts, they have maintained their immortality, never aging but falling to a blade as much as I would or you. Albeit they are more welcoming to outsiders than their southern rivals, but are very strict in their social etiquette, expecting respect and their language to be learned in order to maintain the traditions of old should you stay there. Not to say that the raiders and those with ill intent have arrived there at their icy doorsteps expecting treasures to land at their feet, or technology that can be found on their cousin's land to no rejoice. The ancient blade-singing arts cleave foes just as any spell sword would abandon. It is for certain people who, once all hope and democracy leaves, will not hesitate to slay you and those who would follow in your footsteps. I will just say it how it is. They're stuck in time, petrified of change. Alas, their time will come when change will break their shackles and drive some to derangement and unending madness. Will we see the last of the first elves? Perhaps. Times are changing, and not all for the better. Soon I fear as much as I do for the Shaentai, that the flames of war will consume them. But I'm sure you're tired, adventurer. That was indeed a long tale about this land we walk upon. Have a drink on me. Perhaps you could care for a finer room, silk sheets, feather pillows. I can arrange that for you. It is the least I could do. But if you ever do wish to hear another tale, come by any time. I'm always here. Until next time, my ravishing gooseberry, you stay safe out there.